Hi dear students, welcome to our Bridge Origin of Success. Today day 3rd class. Yesterday we are completed photosynthesis process is completed. By the photosynthesis, all the living plant systems, they can synthesize the food materials, they can store in the various organism parts. Right, yesterday we are already completed. So today we are entering into the day 3rd topic, that is that respiration. The topic is respiration. The respiration means this is the biochemical process. The food materials it oxidized and it can released of energy. That is called also respiration process. In human beings or animal systems, they contain that inhalation and exhalation is called also respiration, or the exchange of gases, that is called also respiration. But here this is the biochemical process and very important process based on the need. Okay, right. So here the equation of respiration, C6H12O6 plus oxygen gives rise 6CO2 plus 6H2O and energy. So energy is released. Means here the biochemical process means this is the chemical equation. This is the respiration chemical equation. The food materials it oxidized and it releases to the CO2 and H2O and energy is released. This process is called also respiration process. Here all the food materials, they can hold the energy in the form of chemical bond systems. So the chemical bonds here in forming release of energy in the form of ATP. So here all the food materials it holds the energy in a chemical bonds. So here that is the form of ADP, and inorganic substances it fused and it formed in a ATP energy. So this is the respiration equation. Mainly here based on the respiration, based on the oxygen, presence of oxygen, the respiration process, there are the two types. One is that aerobic respiration and the next one is that anaerobic respiration. First one is that aerobic respiration. First one is aerobic respiration. Second one is that anaerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration. Okay, so here this is the aerobic respiration. Okay. So here the aerobic respiration process means this is it involved in the various steps. One step is that glycolysis. The first step is that glycolysis. Second one is that formation of acetyl coenzyme A, and third step is that Krebs cycle, and fourth step is that ATS transport systems. Okay, so here this is the aerobic respiration process. This is the basic points, right? So here the equation of aerobic respiration process, C6H12O6, this is the glucose. Okay, so here the glucose molecule it oxidized and it formed in a pyruvic acid, and then it involved in the various steps, and it involved in the CO2 plus water molecule, and energy is released. So here the energy and form of ATP. Here in this aerobic respiration, the energy it released in a 38 ATPs. 38 ATPs. So large amount of energy is released. Okay. So here the first step it is called glycolysis. Glycolysis. All this process is involved in that cytoplasm. In cytoplasm, the glycolysis means the glucose molecule it breaks down into two molecules of pyruvic acid and it releases to the CO2 and H2O and energy. So that is process is called also glycolysis. Here all the process is carried out inside of the cytoplasm, and the first time the scientist Emden, Meyerhoff, Paranas, these are the three scientists who are invented of this glycolysis process. Emden, Meyerhoff, Paranas. Because of this reason the glycolysis process is called also EMP pathway. EMP pathway. So when the glucose molecule it converted into pyruvic acid in the presence of various steps are present. Most of that here in the glycolysis process 10 steps are it contains this glycolysis process. Then finally it forms two molecules of pyruvic acid and place in the presence of oxygen the pyruvic acid and converted into that CO2 and H2O and energy. So here the stored of energy in the form of ATPs, the total 38 ATPs are it released. So here the 38 ATPs are it based on the Telugu Academy and NCERT based on that NCERT in the respiration process the release of energy is 36 ATPs. This all the process it is called also aerobic respiration. Aerobic means all the process it carried out presence of oxygen. So that process it is called also aerobic respiration, right? So here and at this process the pyruvic acid is all the process it carried out inside of the cytoplasm. Then the pyruvic acid it formed in the presence of oxygen. So all this process it carried out inside of that mitochondria. So this is the mitochondria, and here this is the structure of mitochondria. This is the double membrane organism is called also mitochondria also called also double membrane organisms, and external membrane. Inner membrane it takes that number of invaginations. So that invaginations is called also cristae. So here all the plant cell is there. The chloroplast is there. The chloroplast it involved in the photosynthesis process. All the food materials are transported into that cytoplasm in the form of glucose. When the glucose it involved in the glycolysis process, that pyruvic acid it converted into pyruvic acid. That pyruvic acid it entered into that mitochondria. Okay, then after that the mitochondria and the pyruvic acid entered into the form of pyruvic acid. The mitochondria it involved in that acetyl coenzyme A and Krebs cycle and electron transport. The final the respiration product here, and the Krebs cycle also it can contain 10 steps, and the final products are it released in a 4 NADH2s, 1 FADH2 and 1 ATP and 1 GTP. Okay, so this is the balance. the overall released of energy is that 38 based on the Telugu Academy, and the NCERT here this is the 36 ATP so released. So this is the presence of oxygen. Okay, so this respiration is called also aerobic respiration. Okay, and the second one is that anaerobic respiration. Okay, right. So all the process is carried out inside of the mitochondria, right? Here. So anaerobic respiration means here all the respiration process is involved in the absence of oxygen. Absence of oxygen. So here the first step is both these glycolysis is that both it involved in the aerobic and anaerobic respiration process. Then after that the pyruvic acid it formed. So that time it presence of oxygen it formed in this equation, and absence of oxygen. So here the absence of oxygen, what is the byproducts are released? So here in the absence of oxygen, the pyruvic acid it involved in that, and it converted to that ethyl alcohol plus CO2, and here the release of energy is that less energy, that is the 2 ATPs are released. Okay, this is the best example of in the yeast cells. Okay, yeast cells, and here present absence of oxygen. Here this process is same. Similarly in the aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration, this all the process is same. Then after that, in the absence of pyruvic acid, it directly enter into the mitochondria. Then these inside of mitochondria, the pyruvic acid is converted into that ethyl alcohol and CO2 and 2 ATP, and one type of one reaction. And such times the pyruvic acid is involved in that fermentation processes. So the time what happened here, lactic acid is formed, and less amount of energy is released. But here in this case there is the byproduct of CO2 is not released. Here there is no CO2. Directly the pyruvic acid is converted into that lactic acid plus 2 ATPs, and here the pyruvic acid it converted into that ethyl alcohol and CO2 2 ATPs. So this is the anaerobic respiration. The release of energy product is that only 2 ATPs. But here the aerobic respiration, all the process the 38 ATPs are released. Okay, and only here the glycolysis part, this glycolysis part, the 2 ATPs are released, only 2 ATPs. Totally the 4 ATPs are released, but here the 2 ATPs are utilization of these reactions. Net ATPs are only 2 ATPs are formed. So this is the respiration process, common biochemical process. So for example, the respiration process it involved in the plant systems. Mainly here, the respiration process it involved in the plant systems. The respiration in root systems and stems, leaves. Okay, so here the root systems. The first point is that root systems. Here, what is the mechanism of respiration means here? This is the root. Okay, and this is the roots. Primary roots, secondary roots, and tertiary roots. And these tertiary roots it can contain such small hair-like of the structures. These type of the hair-like of the structures are present. These structures is called root hairs. Okay, right. So here what happened? How the roots all respire in the organisms means here the roots are it present inside of the soil, and all the roots are distributed into that soil particles. Okay, and between of these soil particles it can contain oxygen is present. So the time what happened here, all the root hairs are absorbing of oxygen between of the intercellular spaces of soil particles. Okay, so here what happened, how the roots are absorbed means the principle of here osmosis or diffusion. These are the two principles are involved in this case. Okay, so here the osmosis means here, just I will explain only definition, right? So osmosis means here the water ions or any organic particles they are moved to that region of higher water potential to region of lower water potential through semi-permeable membrane is called also osmosis process. And diffusion means here the ions it moves to that higher concentration region to lower concentration region is called also diffusion. So here with help of these two principles, here the root system it involved in the respiration process, right? So this is the important. And next one is that stem systems. So for example, all the stems are present. So early wood or sensitive organism particles are, and it can contain the stems or it can present in a small small tiny pore like the structures. The tiny pores is called also stomatas are present. It is called stomatas, and with the help of stomatas, the elder stems, they can involve in the respiration process with the help of stomatas, and the barks are and hardwood like of the structures. So that type of the oldest stems it involved in the respiration by the help of lenticular cells. Okay, so these are these lenticular cells also tiny pores like of the structures. So here that with the help of lenticular cells, the stems are also involved in that respiration process. And then next one is that leaves. Okay, so here all the stems are connected with the number of branches at the place of nodes. Here these leaf system it can contain number of tiny pores. That pores is called stomatas. Okay, here the stomatal structure is that. This is the stomatal structure. I will draw here, right? And all the leaf systems it can contain. Right, this is the stomatal structures, and okay, these are epidermal cells. These are gourd cells. This is the stomatal core. Okay, all this process it is called stomatal apparatus. These are it is called stomatal apparatus. With help of this opening of stomatas, so here these with help of stomatas, all the leaf systems are exchanges of gases. Okay, so with help of stomatus, all the leaves are involved in that respiration process. Okay, right. So this is the respiration process. And the next life process, the next topic of life process is that transportation. The next topic is that transportation. Okay, so this is the next topic in the life process. Here the next topic is the transportation. Okay. Right, the photosynthesis is completed and then respiration is completed. So next topic is transportation. Here all the plant systems are made up of cells and tissues. Okay, and all the cell systems, it can carried out number of metabolic activities. Means here inside of the plant cells, so such type of different types of activities are formed. So that time number of harmful products and hormones and extra products are released inside of the organisms. Such type of particles, they can transport it to one place to another place. Okay, so for example here, all the plant system, all the green plants, they involved in the photosynthesis process and respiration process. So such times number of CO2s and H2, water and energy and all compounds are released. Okay, right. And mainly here the transportation means inside of the organisms, they can transportation of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen and water, enzymes, hormones and food materials. These are main important components. These are transported to one place to another place. Means one organelles to other organelles is called also transportation. So here all the process is carried out inside of the cell, means that is called also internal transportation. That is called internal transportation. So for example, number of ammonia and nucleic acids and urea and some such type of organisms they are released. So that organisms, the compounds also, it harmful to that cells. Because of that reason also, that all the particles are removed to one inside to and outside. Okay, so all the process is called also transportation. So here the transportation process is carried out with the help of one specific complex tissues. The tissues is called also xylem and phloem. Xylem and phloem, these are important tissues. Mainly these with help of these complex tissues, and these tissues is called tracheodes. Means this is the tracheophytic tissues. Okay, so this is vascular tissue. This tissue also called vascular tissues. Okay, right. So here the transportation process is carried out through three types. One is that translocation, and second one is that ascent of sap, and third one is the transpiration. This is the three types. The transportation process is carried out inside of all the organisms with help of these complex tissues. Okay. So first of all, the translocation means, so first of all, the ascent of sap means here the root system, they are absorbed in a water and mineral nutritions inside of the soil, and such type of components, they are transported through of xylem root system to shoot system and various different types of plant pot system. That is called also ascent of sap. Means here the upward or downward movement of the absorbed by the root system, and they are transported to through of xylem in various plant organisms onto the plant the opposite of gravitational force, that is called also ascent of sap. Okay, ascent of sap. Only here the water and mineral nutrition, with the help of ascent of sap, water and mineral nutritions only. Mineral nutritions, water and mineral nutritions, both of these components are transported with help of ascent of sap. What is the mechanisms are involved? So here in this case here the xylem cells are important components of ascent of sap. So the xylem cell, it made up of xylem parenchyma, tracheids and vasils and fibers. The xylem is made up of 4 components, that is that xylem parenchyma and tracheids and vasils and fibers. Okay, these are very important components, and here with help of these components all the water and mineral nutritions are transported to one organism to and another organisms. Okay, so here what is the mechanism is involved in this place means here the ascent of sap, here the principle is involved in that osmosis and diffusion principle is involved in this case. Osmosis and diffusion process, both of these 2 principles, osmosis and diffusion, osmosis and diffusion process are, both of these principles are used in this transportation process. Okay, right. And next one is the translocation, means here the food materials, okay, the food materials transported through of phloem cells, and means here food materials means by the photosynthesis process all the living organisms, means the leaves, or they can synthesize the food materials with the help of, by the process of photosynthesis. Okay, right, photosynthesis, with help of photosynthesis, the process of photosynthesis. So such type of food materials, they are transported to leaf to stems and stems to root system and all plant organelles. So with the help, that process is called also translocation. That process is called translocation. Okay, right. So here the translocation process, it helped in the phloem cells. The phloem cells also, it made up of phloem parenchyma, sieve tubes, companion cells and fiber cells. Okay, these are 4 types of the cells are it made up of the phloem parenchyma, phloem cells, and with the help of xylem and phloem all the transportation process is carried out. Okay, right, this is the one basic. And next one is the transpiration. The transpiration means the loss of water in the form of vapor. The loss of water in the form of vapor inside of to external side is called also transpiration, simply. Okay, so here the loss of the loss of water in the form of vapor is called also transpiration, and mainly here the transpiration process is carried out through of stomatas, or with the help of stomatas, right? With help of stomatas. So here then what happened here? Such type of oxygens and such type of ionic organelles, they are transported with help of stomatas inside to external environment side, right? So that process is called also transpiration. Mainly the transpiration process, or there are cuticular transpiration process, stomatal transpiration process, and the lenticular cells transpiration process. These are the 3 types of transpiration process is carried out, and all this process is called also transportation process. Okay, right. Okay, so transportation is completed. Now the third one is that control and coordination. So this is third one, control and coordination. Third life process of in all organisms, living organisms. Okay, right. So control and coordination means, so all the plant cells and living animals they are inhibit such type of stimulants, and all the organisms they have inhibit such type of stimulants. So that is called also control and coordinations. Mainly the control and coordinations, there are two types. One is the independent growth and second one is the dependent growth. Independent and dependent growth. Here the both of these growth, dependent and independent, these both of two growths they are fully dependent to plant hormones. The plant hormones are auxins, gibberellins, cytokinins and ethylene abscisic acid. These are the very important hormones secreted by inside of all the plant cells. Okay, so means there is the biurinal or unidirectional or multidirectional movements of plant systems is called also independent growth systems. Mainly here, example of independent growth means there is the movement of plant systems, that is called independent growth. So here the example of independent growth is that nastic movements, mainly important. So here the movement means the multidirectional, they did not move to such various types of the directions. They are independently, they are moved to different ways, multi-directional. So that type of movements is called also nastic movements. So here the nastic movements again it can divide it into two types, seismonastic and nectinastic. Nastic movements means the plant systems they are developed in a various movements. Multi-directional movements is called also nastic movements. So here the seismonastic movements means these are sensitive growth of plant organisms. The best example is that touch me not plant. Touch me not plant. The best example is that scientific name is that Mimosa pudica, and Lauja plant it is called, and Chuchai plant here also is called this seismonastic plant. The example is that touch me not plant. The example is the touch me not plant. The scientific name of this touch me not is that Mimosa pudica. For example, what is the movements is that means when we have to touch into that leaf system, then it's spirally they are coiled, immediately they are sensitive. Such type of shock treatment. So when we have to touch with an electric current, so that time what happened? That unfortunately our hand it can move in a backside. So such type of movements is called also seismonastic movements, and these movements is called also thigmonastic movements. Okay, so this is the seismonastic movements. And nictonastic movements means, so here the multi-directional movements, some special organelles, some characters they are inhibited. Such type of movements is called nectinastic movements. So for example, that is photonastic movements and thermonastic movements. Okay, so photonastic movements means these type of the plants they are developed in the light source where it is present into that light. So for example, best example is that sunflower. Okay, the best example. And here what happened when the sun arises at the east too, and here, so here then what happened, the leaves also, the flowers also, it moves based on the direction of light systems. That type of movements is called photonastic movements. Okay, right. And the thermonastic movements is here. This is based on the temperature. based on the temperature. Okay, so based on the temperature, so the plants or they are developed such type of movements is called thermonastic movements. These are the independent growth systems. And dependent growth means so here these dependent growth, it dependent to that tropism. Okay, tropism means the tropism also again it can divided phototropism, geotropism, chemotropism, hydrotropism. Okay, and here for example this is the soil, and each and every place the soil system it can contain that gravitational force. The plants are they are developed on towards that gravitation, that is called positively gravitational force, and opposite words of gravitation force, that is called also negatively gravitational force. Okay, right? So here the tropism means here such type of the stimulants or they are directly dependent to the development of the plant systems. Okay, the first one is that phototropism means here for example the plant systems and they are developed in a shoot system in a upwards, and root system is developed in a inside downwards, upwards and downwards. Here this is the for example shoot systems. Okay, and here this is the root system. Okay, so here the shoot system it developed towards that positively in phototropism. Light, photo means light. Here the development of the plant system it stimulates to photo light. Okay, so here the light is dependent. So here this is the movements, the upward movement of the plant system, that is positively tropism, and the root system it grown up inside of the soil, that is called negatively tropism. Okay, such type it is called phototropism. And the next one is the geotropism. So here geotropism means the shoot system is developed on upward of opposite version of gravitational force, opposition of gravitational force. Here for example this is the root system, it positively in gravitational force. Where is the present in gravitational force? Inside of earth. So here this is the gravitational force. The root system it developed in a downwards of the soil. So because it is positively, right, this is positively, right, this is the negatively, this is negatively. This type of tropism is called also geotropism. Okay, right. And chemotropism means here the dependent to the chemical substances. Here these type of the chemical substances are directly they are dependent to the growth of this tropism is called also chemotropism. So for example that chemical it present inside of the root tips and shoot tips. For example the root tips are it present. So such time what happened here, the root system it developed inside of the soil, right? So this is called positively geotropism and negatively chemotropism. Okay, negatively chemotropism. So this is called also chemical substances. And hydrotropism means here this is the water based on the water source. Based on the water source. Okay, so water, all the water it can present inside of the soil. Inside of the soil. So everywhere the root system it positively in geotropic manner and negatively in geotropic manner. Shoot system is everywhere negatively, but only one time based on the photo system here only the root system is negatively and this is positively. Only one stimuli, right? Here the only photo stimuli, only here the photo stimuli. Here the shoot system is positively and the root system is negatively. and depending to all these structures here, then all these are positively and root system, negatively in shoot system. This is the tropism and control and coordination, the basic points of control and coordination. And the last one is that life process is that reproduction process. Okay, reproduction process. Now we are discussing about that reproduction process. Next life process, that is the reproduction. The reproduction process is involved in the two steps. One is that asexual reproduction, and second one is that sexual reproduction. Okay, so asexual and sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction means here directly the gametophyte involved in the reproduction process. Asexual reproduction, again it can divide it various types. One is that fission, fragmentation, regeneration, budding, spore formation, and vegetative reproduction. The vegetative reproduction is natural and artificial. The natural are stolons, buds, rhizomes, bulbs, tubers, suckers, and adventitious buds. And artificial reproduction is that cutting, layering, and grafting. These are asexual reproduction process. The fission means here the mother organism, they directly divided two equal daughter cells, that is called also fission, and binary fission and multiple fission. Means here one cell it can divided and it developed in a two daughter cells, that is called binary fission. Multiples means here it gives two number of cells, that is called also multiple cells. Fragmentation means here the mother organism, they can divided in a number of fragments. Each and every fragment they act as a mother cells, that is called also fragmentation. Regeneration means such type of fragments, they again it can ability of development, that is called regeneration. Budding means such type of mother cells, they are it given to some small buds, that when the buds are cutting, the buds it can develop in a new type of the plants, like that for example is that bryophyllums. And spore formation and vegetative asexual reproduction. Spore formation means, for example, in prokaryotic cells, it can develop in a spore formation. The availability of environment conditions, that spores are again they are developed into a new type of the plant systems. Vegetative means they are natural and artificial. Naturals are means stolons, buds, rhizomes, bulbs, tubers, suckers, adventitious bulbs. So here the stolons is that chrysanthemums indica, and buds are bryophyllums, rhizomes are zingiber officinalis, and bulbs are Allium cepa and Lilium candidum, Solanum tuberosum, and chrysanthemums. Adventitious means asparagus. These are main examples of these natural reproduction process. Artificial means directly we are doing in a artificial cuttings and layerings and graftings. These are three types, and artificial and natural sexual reproduction process. And sexual reproduction process here in the angiospermic plants, the sexual reproduction organism is that flower. Okay, and the flowers it can contain unisexual and bisexual flowers are present. So unisexual means the flower it can contain either androecium or gynoecium. Such type of flowers is called also unisexual flowers. Bisexual flowers means both of androecium and gynoecium they are present into that flowers is called also bisexual flowers. And here the flower it can contain four parts. One is the calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. These are the four parts are present, and this is the male reproductive and female reproductive organisms. This is male reproductive organism, this is female reproductive organism. Okay, right. And here the process of reproduction means, mainly here the process of reproduction, it can contain three events. One is that pollination, free fertilization and free fertilization events. Okay, pollination means the pollen grain, the transfer of pollen grains one flower to another flower is called also pollination. And the pollination, there are two types. One is that self pollination, second one is that cross pollination. And fertilization, so fertilization means the pollination it is complete, such time it can fertilize and embryo sac is developed. Then embryo sac, it can form in a fruit and seeds. This is the reproduction process. Okay, right. Mainly these are basics of life process. All living and non-living organisms, or it can contain metabolic activities. Okay, so such type of metabolic activities were completed. One is that nutrition and photosynthesis, respiration, transportation and reproduction and control and growth. Excretion part is contain that animal system. There is no excretion part is present into that in plant systems. So this is the day 3 topic. So thank you one and all. So today we have completed this topic, and tomorrow we will continue new topic in day 4th session. Okay.